Yeah, I guess that'll do. All right. Do you know the song, Manaji? Jaya Radha Madhava? Jaya Radha Madhava. Probably not, otherwise you would have recognized it. And I suspect the same is for you. You got it? You know where it is? Okay, fine. We have sheets. You'll see. It's a nice meditation on Krishna and Vrindavan. You know. You got the beads, I can tell. Yeah. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. There she is. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Yashodanandana Bhajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Bhajana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. And Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jai Mr. Paramahansa, Bhagavadgitaclass, Ashtottara to the Sri Srimad Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki Jai. ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa, Bhagavadgitaclass, Ashtottara to the Sri Srimad, His Divine Grace, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur ki Jai. Ananda Koti Vaishnava ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki Jai. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki Jai. Samaveda Bhaktivinoda ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glory to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Suresh, take this book. Give me that book. This is one of the few books with the different margins. I don't put, yeah, at least, yeah. Thanks. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. On this 27th day of November, 2017, in SanDiego, we're reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. We are on page 405 at the bottom. And this is in chapter 9, entitled The Most Confidential Knowledge, text number 26. Patram pushpam phalam toyam yo me bhaktya prayachati tadaham bhaktuparitam ashnami payatatmanaha. Patram pushpam phalam toyam yo me bhaktya prayachati tadaham bhaktuparitam ashnami payatatmanaha. Patram pushpam phalam toyam yo me bhaktya prayachati tadaham bhaktuparitam ashnami payatatmanaha. Oh, our friend Damodar is gone. Can you chant? Patram pushpam phalam toyam yo me bhaktya prayachati tadaham bhaktuparitam ashnami prayatatmanaha. Go ahead, Damodar. Patram pushpam phalam toyam yo me bhaktya prayachati tadaham bhaktuparitam ashnami prayatatmanaha. Go ahead, Bob. Patram pushpam phalam toyam yo me bhaktya prayachati uparitam tadaham bhaktuparitam ashnami prayatatmanaha. Marcy, go ahead. Patram pushpam phalam toyam yo me bhaktya prayachati tadaham bhaktuparitam ashnami prayatatmanaha. Do you want to try it, Marcy? Patram pushpam phalam toyam yo me bhaktya prayachati tadaham bhaktuparitam ashnami prayatatmanaha. Okay, I'll read this word by word meanings. You can read along silently. Patram, a leaf; pushpam, a flower; phalam, a fruit; toyam, water; yaha, whoever; may, unto me; bhaktya, with devotion; prayachati, offers; tat, that; aham, I; bhakti, uparitam, offered in devotion; ashnami, accept; prayata atmanaha, from one in pure consciousness. Translation: if one offers me with love and devotion a leaf, a flower, a fruit, or water, I will accept it. Purport: for the intelligent person, it is essential to be in Krishna consciousness, engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Lord, in order to achieve a permanent, blissful abode for eternal happiness. The process of achieving such a marvelous result is very easy and can be attempted even by the poorest of the poor, without any kind of qualification. The only qualification required in this connection is to be a pure devotee of the Lord. It does not matter what one is or where one is situated. The process is so easy that even a leaf or a little water or fruit can be offered to the Supreme Lord in genuine love, and the Lord will be pleased to accept it. No one, therefore, can be barred from Krishna consciousness, because it is so easy and universal. Who is such a fool that he does not want to be Krishna conscious by this simple method, and thus attain the highest perfectional life of eternally bliss and knowledge? Krishna wants only loving service and nothing more. Krishna accepts even a little flower from his pure devotee. He does not want any kind of offering from a non-devotee. He is not in need of anything from anyone because he is self-sufficient, and yet he accepts the offering of his devotee in an exchange of love and affection. To develop Krishna consciousness is the highest perfection of life. Bhakti is mentioned twice in this verse in order to declare more emphatically that bhakti or devotional service is the only means to approach Krishna. No other condition, such as becoming a Brahmin, a learned scholar, a very rich man, or a great philosopher, can induce Krishna to accept some offering. Without the basic principle of bhakti, nothing can induce the Lord to agree to accept anything from anyone. Bhakti is never causal. The process is eternal. It is direct action in service to the absolute whole. Here Lord Krishna, having established that he is the only enjoyer, the primeval Lord, and the real object of all sacrificial offerings, reveals what types of sacrifices he desires to be offered. If one wishes to engage in devotional service to the Supreme in order to be purified and to reach the goal of life, the transcendental loving service of God, then one should find out what the Lord desires of him. One who loves Krishna will give him whatever he wants, and he avoids offering anything which is undesirable or unasked for. Thus meat, fish, and eggs should not be offered to Krishna. If he desired such things as offerings, he would have said so. Instead, he clearly requests that a leaf, fruit, flowers, and water be offered to him. And he says of this offering, "I will accept it." Therefore, we should understand that he will not accept meat, fish, and eggs. Vegetables, grains, fruits, milk, and water are the proper foods for human beings and are prescribed by Lord Krishna himself. Whatever else we eat cannot be offered to him, since he will not accept it. Thus we cannot be acting on the level of loving devotion if we offer such foods. In the 3rd chapter, verse 13, Sri Krishna explains that only the remains of sacrifice are purified and fit for consumption by those who are seeking advancement in life and release from the clutches of the material entanglement. Those who do not make an offering of their food, he says in the same verse, are eating only sin. In other words, their every mouthful is simply deepening their involvement in the complexities of material nature. But preparing nice, simple vegetable dishes, offering them before the picture or deity of Lord Krishna, and bowing down and praying for him to accept such a humble offering, enable one to advance steadily in life, to purify the body, and to create fine brain tissues which will lead to clear thinking. Above all, the offering should be made with an attitude of love. Krishna has no need of food, since he already possesses everything that be. Yet he will accept the offering of one who desires to please him in that way. The important element in preparation, in serving, and in offering is to act with love for Krishna. The impersonalist philosophers who wish to maintain that the absolute truth is without senses cannot comprehend this verse of the Bhagavad Gita. To them, it is either a metaphor or proof of the mundane character of Krishna, the speaker of the Bhagavad Gita. But in actuality, Krishna, the Supreme Godhead, has senses, and it is stated that his senses are interchangeable. In other words, one sense can perform the function of any other. This is what it means to say that Krishna is absolute. Lacking senses, he could hardly be considered full in all opulences. In the 7th chapter, Krishna has explained that he impregnates the living entities into material nature. This is done by his looking upon material nature. And so in this instance, Krishna's hearing the devotee's words of love and offering foodstuffs is wholly identical with his eating and actually tasting. This point should be emphasized. Because of his absolute position, his hearing is wholly identical with his eating and tasting. Only the devotee who accepts Krishna as he describes himself, without interpretation, can understand that the Supreme Absolute Truth can eat food and enjoy it. Om Jnana-timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshu Unmidatam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in darkness of ignorance. My spiritual master Srila Prabhupada opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisance unto him and all members of Sri Parampara. So, who's the fool who would not easily attain this marvelous result? Prabhupada says in the paragraph here. Now, in context, let's look what's going on. Krishna has spent several verses describing that one should not worship the demigods for material benefit. Specifically, text 20 and 21, he describes how those who worship me, he's implying they worship me indirectly. Trividya mam somapapata papa yagya. They're performing yagya to me, but they're doing it with the desire to go to the heavenly planets, Swargatim. And they can go to that pious planet of Indra, Sura Indra Lokam, and there they can enjoy godly delights, Divideva Bhogan, Ashnanti Divyan Divideva Bhogan, for some time, long time. But then in the next verse he says, Tetam Bhuktva Swargalokam Vishadam Chini Punyamati Lokam Vishanti. That after enjoying these vast delights, Vishala means vast, we can't even imagine, your piety is exhausted, Chine Punya, and you fall down again to Martya Loka, this world of death, birth and death. So you don't really make any progress toward the goal of life, which is to break free of this material bondage and to go to the kingdom of God. So you're just going and coming. Then he says in 22 that, but one who simply worships me with undeviated mind, ananyas chintayanto mam, yejana paripasate, I provide what they need to live, and I give them security. That's the yoga and shema, vahamyaham. Then he goes back and is re-emphasizing the fact that he's the only worshipable Lord. Anyone who worships other devas, anya devata bhakta, with faith, they're worshiping me. Tepi mame vakonte yajin, but avadi purvaka. Not in the proper, under the proper guidance or the rules and regulations. And so he says, then he makes it very clear in text 24 that I am the enjoyer of all jagyas. Aham hi sarvayagam bhokta, and the master of the jagyas. Those who do not worship me, they eventually fall down. Chabantite. They don't understand this truth. And then in 25 is a very famous verse. You basically go where you worship, where your faith is, where your aspiration is, what you're hoping to go. Your mind will be colored by that, and you'll go there. Yanti deva vrata devan. If you worship the demigods with great faith and prayer for material things, you'll go there if you're pious. If you worship the Pitris, they're in charge of the ancestors, like, you go there. If you worship the Bhutas and the Pretas, the ghosts and the Pashachis, you'll go there. And if you worship me, you'll come to me. like you get what you pay for, right? You come to the Walmarts.
Other gods, it means that all priests and ghosts.
Yes, Bhutani, Bhutas. You see the definition here, the ghosts and the spirits.
No, text 23.
23?
They say who are the devotees of other gods and who worship them with faith actually worship only me.
Yes, they're worshipping me because whatever the gods can give you, they're getting from Krishna. But you don't recognize that, so you go there. In other words, you're worshipping those gods, you're going to go to their planet. You're not going to go back to Krishna. To go to Krishna Loka, you need to worship Krishna directly. That's the key. And then in 26, he gives this wonderful verse, the one we read today. The worship is so easy. If you want to worship Indra and go to Indra Loka, you got to pay the Brahmins, elaborate sacrifice. You got to say the mantras just right, or you can get the opposite. There's a story in the Srimad Bhagavad Purana, in Canto 6. It's a wonderful story. It starts out with this frustrated king who couldn't have a son, Chitraketu. He had many wives, but he couldn't have a son, and so I forget which sage came and gave him a sacrifice to perform. You give this sacred milk to your favorite wife and she'll get pregnant. She gets pregnant and he has this wonderful son. He's jubilant. I think he asked the sage, what shall I name him? He said, you name the son Harsha Shoka. You know what Harsha Shoka means? Jubilation, lamentation. So he said, well, okay, I can dig that. You know, that's not so good. Every child gives some lamentation and some jubilation. So Harsha Shoka it is. So once she had this son, the favorite wife became even more favorite, and he ignored all the other wives. They became envious, and they murdered the child in the crib. You know, it was horrific. The nurse finds out. She goes screaming down the hallway. You know, and Chitraketu, you know, there's a scene where he's kind of banging his head against the walls as he goes down. It's just like he's devastated. So he comes before the dead child, and I forget the details of Narada Muni comes, but I think, the child, the soul of the child comes back into the child and starts preaching to him. So who is my real father? I've had so many fathers before. I'll have so many fathers again. You know, we only stay for a few minutes like that. You know? So this gave him great detachment. You know, and then he renounces everything, and he gets initiated by Narada, and he chants this mantra, and he realizes God in 7 days. Not Krishna, but Sankirtan, you know, manifestation of Balaram. And then he goes flying, you know, to different areas with the airplane, with the special airplane, you know. And he comes up to Mount Kailash, and he sees Shiva there with Parvati. And they're surrounded by these great sages, and Shiva's got Parvati on his lap, you know. And he makes some comment. Shiva doesn't mind, but Parvati gets very insulted. She curses him to become a demon. And Chitraketu, he takes it as Krishna's will, you know. This is a typical devotee thing, is that whatever God wills, you know. So what happens is, now you switch, it's an incredible movie, make a great movie. So now we're in the heavenly planets, and Indra has become, as he's wont to do, he's become a little bit proud of his wealth, and he's got all the dancing operas there, you know. And he's on his throne, looking around, and his guru walks in, Bahaspati. And he doesn't get off the throne and offers obeisances. And Bahaspati turns on his heel and walks out. Now Indra, he says, what have I done? I've offended my guru. And he rushes out, but he can't find him. Bahaspati has disappeared, you know. This is a big problem, because they know in the heavenly planets that they're getting all their strength from worship of the guru. Now the guru is gone. So they're kind of, you know, so the demons take advantage. And they attack the heavenly planets. So there's all this crisis, and Indra is what's he going to do? So he needs to have another guru. So he goes to this great Brahmin named Tvashta, and Tvashta encourages his son Vishwarup to be the new guru for the demigods. Now, Vishwarup, he happened to have 3 heads. Just go with it. And so he would perform the offerings of the oblations for the demigods, and everything was going all right. But he also had some loyalty on the demon side, so he would offer some oblations there. So Indra's hiding behind a pillar, and he sees that he's also worshipping the demons. He gets angry. This is interesting. He goes off the handle, you know. That's why we have Govardhan, because he tried to inundate Vrindavan, right? And so he cuts off those 3 heads. Oh, you know. And so Tvashta, the father, is infuriated. So he wants to perform this big sacrifice to invoke a demon that will kill Indra. But he's upset. So he gets all the Brahmins and he's chanting the mantras, but he mischants one mantra. You know, it is Sanskrit is a very precise language, you know. If you say Shastra, you mean a sword. If you say Shastra, you mean a book. You got to watch out for your pronunciation. I like to give the sidelight. Every morning we have Mangalartik. And at the end of Mangalartik we offer our obeisances to the assembled devotees. These days it's a kind of a small assembly, but it's still whatever. So the way the mantra is Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhu behavicha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Now devotees, you know, Western devotees, we tend to kind of not pronounce precisely. I think we can understand that, right? And so I keep encouraging them, but please say it precisely, otherwise it means something completely different. Generally the long A's tend to become short. So I've even heard Hare Krishna Rama. You know, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, 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 Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Instead of Rama, it's a whole different word. It's a whole different word, you get a different result. Don't say Rama, say Rama. So Vancha kalpatarubhyascha becomes Vancha kalpatarubhyascha. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha. Everything becomes short. Unfortunately, whereas the word Vancha means desire, and kalpa means, Vancha means desire, kalpataru means a desired tree. So they're like desired trees. But Vanchaka means to cheat. And Alpa means small. So instead of Vancha Kalpa, you get Vanchakalpa. Vanchaka Alpa Taru. I offer my obeisances unto all the assembled Vaishnava devotees of the Lord, who are just like small cheating trees. Now that's not very nice. And all because we're being very, You know what I'm saying, Bob? We have to be careful. So that's what happened to Trashta. Now, you don't mean to, but that's what I'm hearing. You know, it's like if you're an English speaker and someone is saying something nonsense, you say, wait a minute, or if someone doesn't know your name properly. Anyway, pronunciation is important, that's my point. But, now let's look at this verse that we just read. Here, instead of this elaborate sacrifices to go to heaven, everything has to be just precise, just offer me with love. He's not even, with, you know, a little leaf, a fruit, a flower, some water, and I will accept it. The key element is not the technique, the pronunciation, how much ghee you can pour into the fire. It's simply your heart. Because Krishna has everything. He has everything but our love. And that's what he wants. That's what he's looking for. That's all that he wants to enjoy. He can enjoy everything else on his own. You know, he has it. But he wants to engage with us in love. And so this wonderful verse, and this verse, I have to give you an editing pastime. Because this is my field. I edit the books. I didn't edit this book, although I had a role to play in various corrections and revisions. But now this book, I notice you don't have your other Gita with you today. Did you forget it?
No, it's in the car.
It's in the car.
Yeah, it's easy to follow along with.
Yeah, this particular verse is really easy to follow along because if you compare, which I've done, this this book was originally written in the first manifestation of the Bhagavad Gita as it is was an abridged version. There was no money, you know, in 1966, 67, 68, and we didn't have the ability to have our own copyright, our own press and publishing house. We had to take the book to a publisher, and that publisher was the Macmillan Company. There's a whole miracle how it was accepted, but I won't tell that story tonight, maybe tomorrow. So, but Macmillan, because you have to understand, this is the middle of the 60s, there's a big ferment in the country. Everybody's taking hallucinogens and the Beatles are going to Maharshi, you know, there's a big awakening of interest in Indian music and Indian thought and philosophy. So, they ended up, you know, wanting to publish Bhaktivedanta Swami's Bhagavad Gita, but they weren't ready to invest in a big unabridged edition like this, and the unabridged edition is more than 1,000 pages. This one is more like 800. So that's too much. But so they said, we'll print it if it's abridged. So that was the first Gita. Now, in that first Gita, there were many fewer purports. That's where the bulk of the book is, really, in the purports, you know, the commentary. So they said, you have to cut it way down. They gave them a maximum page count. Okay, so many purport. Can we turn it off for good? Fine. So they cut out many of the purports, but this purport, because after all the movement started. Oh boy, there's a sign outside. Okay, cell phones off. Yeah, yours is off, but he's making sure his is off. Okay, so where were we? So the devotees, what did they know? You know, they had the kirtan. That was the big thing. And they had Srila Prabhupada's first canto, 3 volumes, kind of crude English, a little difficult to read. No Gita, no Bhagavatam, just 3 books. So mostly it was the chanting and the prasadam. That was really big. Prabhupada himself was cooking it first. You can imagine those Sunday feasts. And he was teaching everyone. So everyone, you know, you had a lot of chanting, a lot of feasting, and a little philosophy. Chanting, dancing, and you see. Now this is all about prasadam, you see. So the full purport here was included in that abridged edition. And that included this first paragraph here, you see, which I read, with the marvelous result, who would be such a fool. By the way, I just want to direct you as a sidelight, bhakti is never causal. Now, if you just read that, it's got to puzzle you. What does that mean? I agree. What does it mean? You have to know, right, Marcy? Can you tell me what it means? I don't think anyone can tell you, unless you really know the background.
When you read it, there were big question marks.
And there still are, right? They're still out there, okay.
Yeah.
So, what this means is causal. Probably use the word cause to mean motivation, and especially material motivation. That's why you have, in so many verses, which I won't quote to you, the word ahaituki. Hetu means cause in Sanskrit. Ahaituki means without a cause. But you have to translate it into English. It means material motivation. Real bhakti is never materially motivated. That's what that phrase means. And I don't think we're going to change it. You have to kind of understand it. So, back to this whole first paragraph was there in the abridged edition. Because this full purport was there, because prasadam is so important. They left that purport untouched. When it was printed in 1972 in the unabridged edition called the Macmillan Gita, that paragraph was omitted. You won't find it in your one in the car. Yes, the entire paragraph. That was restored in 1983. This is the revised edition. If you look at what is called the title page, you'll see revised and enlarged. And one way it was enlarged by restoring that big paragraph. That's the biggest change in the whole Gita. So if you want to read that marvelous purport about how only fools would not engage in this process, you need to have this latest Gita. And there are about 1,000 other important changes in it. All right, back to our purport here. So the idea is that bhakti is easy. Remember the beginning of the chapter, the second verse. We all have books. Turn to text number 2 in this chapter. It is on page, except for you. You have a different edition, different printing. Who has the page number? It's page 377, I believe. No? 375. Now just look at the translation. It's in bold. This knowledge is the king of education, most secret of all secrets. It is the purest knowledge, and because it gives direct perception of the self by realization, it is perfection. It is everlasting, and it is joyfully performed. Susukam. You see, now the joyfully performed is the chanting and the dancing and the feasting. Not chapter 6, go alone to the Himalayas, sit on this seat, don't eat too much. It's not joyfully performed. It's a different form of yoga. See, so Ashtanga yoga, Ashtanga 8-limb dhyana yoga, is too hard for us. Even Arjun said he couldn't do it. He said, Chanchalamhi mana Krishna pramati balabhadradham tasyaham nigraham manye vayo ivasu. The mind. You want me to control the mind? Even after you gave me these nice instructions, it's too restless. Chanchalam imana. It's very stubborn, pramati, and powerful, and fixed in its determination. I think to try to control the mind is like trying to control the wind. Who can control the wind? When it gets blowing, you can't. So that's Arjuna, what to speak of us. So there's 4 different kinds of yogas in the Gita. Start with karma yoga, the yoga of action, jnana yoga, jnana yoga, knowledge, trying to separate matter from spirit, dhyana yoga, meditation, and bhakti yoga. But really, the whole theme is ultimately bhakti yoga. These middle 6 chapters, it's all about bhakti yoga. Even though there may be some meditative aspects to it, the goal is to be situated in this loving relationship with Krishna eternally. And in Bhakti Yoga, as it was taught by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his followers, the other aspects of yoga are there, but they come naturally in the train. If you're studying Bhagavad Gita is one of the aspects of Bhakti, and Bhagavad Purana. So the knowledge is going to come naturally, but not as a separate element of Bhakti. It's integral to it. It's like that. So, and this wonderful verse, the point is, anyone can do it. There's no prerequisite. Who cannot find a leaf, a flower, a fruit somewhere, and the poorest man. But if you can afford more, then you should try to do as nice offerings as you possibly can. That's the idea. Prabhupada would say, Krishna's not looking at what you offer to him. He's looking at what you're holding back. That's what he wants. He wants everything. Because it comes out of love. Yes, if it comes out of love, then naturally you want to give Krishna the best and the most. So it's completely natural.
So is it like you mentioned that there's a karma yoga, bhakti yoga, and all this yoga?
Karma yoga, jnana yoga, ashtanga, dhyana yoga, and bhakti yoga. There is a progression. It's like a yoga ladder. Karma yoga, everybody's doing karma, is doing activity. But the idea, as explained in chapter 3, is to make a sacrifice of the fruits of your labor. So the idea is, because when you act what the Prabhupada calls fruitively, it means selfishly. You know, basically you're trying to get the fruits and enjoy them for yourself or even your extended self, your family, whatever. That's not yoga. That's just karma. So how to make karma into karma yoga means that is the concept of sacrifice. That's why Prabhupada refers to the verse in the 3rd chapter. Yagya shishtashinak santo muchante sarvakilbishai. That the santas, the saints, the devotees, they eat food that's first offered for sacrifice. That's what the prasadam is. It's a sacrifice. It's not a very elaborate, difficult sacrifice, but it's a sacrifice. You're sacrificing, you have to buy nice ingredients, you need to offer the food, you have to sit, it has to be in the right consciousness. And then the thought is, the whole thing is the consciousness. What you're thinking about as you cook and as you offer. This is for your pleasure. Bhoktaram Gita pasam sarva. Krishna is the enjoyer. You see? Let him eat. He says, I will eat it if it's so. And then we'll just take the remnants. And by taking those remnants, it becomes a spiritual exchange. You're offering to Krishna, he's offering back to you. Rather than just, let me cook and eat it, And nowadays, it's such a thing that people don't even want to cook anymore. Right? Fast food, or let's just go out. Right? But they eat only sin. If you're only, if you're going to, what this big of going to McDonald's, I don't even want to mention it. But even the purest vegetarian, if they're just cooking for themselves, it's still sinful. Not as sinful as meat eating, obviously. But still, it's entangling you to this world. So it becomes a jagya. And the general principle is, in the 3rd chapter, yagyartat karmano nyatra lokoyam karma bandhanaha. It says, you should act for the sake of jagya. Now, yagya is also a name of Vishnu. It says, otherwise, whatever you do that's not in sacrifice binds you to this world. So really, because yoga is simple for the simple. Anyone can step into the house of yoga, of bhakti yoga, by simply chanting and offering little food. It's not a big strain. But if you want to go further, then there's more to do. It means that, you mold your life in such a way so that every act is an act of sacrifice. Every act is an act of devotion. For the pure devotees like Srila Prabhupada, every breath, he's living only for that service of Krishna. You see? And the results are wonderful. We could see when Prabhupada was with us, that he was unattached and he was so tolerant. He was able to go through so much because he was always feeling the presence of the Lord in his every activity. But Srila Prabhupada, the founder, I was fortunate to meet him back in '75. I was initiated. So, but it's important to have those examples. That's why we have so many books, biographies, so that we can get inspired by that example, and hopefully to move toward that purity ourselves. So the idea is, bhakti is easy to walk for the simple for the simple, but it's also very profound for those who want to advance. It's just like schooling. Okay, you can go to community college and get some but if you're able, you can go to more advanced education. You can become a PhD. So bhakti is like that also. Anyone can engage in it. There's no prerequisites in terms of social status or anything. But to advance in the purity of heart, that requires a great determination, like that. Okay. Now, one point that Prabhupada makes here is it requires faith. We have these deity forms, but for ordinary person, well, these are statues. What are you doing offering, food there? What's that? Because I can see, they don't believe. But one who understands from the Shastra, from the Gurus, Sadhus, you see, Krishna, out of his mercy, we can't see him in the spiritual form now because our vision is clouded, by materialism. But he kindly appears in forms that we can perceive. The most important form is the holy name. He invests the holy name with his energy so we can contact him at any time. That's even better. We don't have to be in the temple or anything. Anytime, any place, anyone can chant Hare Krishna. And if you're really chanting sincerely with some faith, you'll be purified. You'll feel the presence of the Lord. But also we need places like the temple where we can get together and where the whole atmosphere is sacred and holy and just reminds you of Krishna. And then the deity, Krishna, we learn in chapter 7, these are all his energies. There's no place where there's no Krishna. The solid matter, the liquids, the air, the fiery, all of these energies are nothing but Krishna's energies. He claims them. So they're connected to him. When someone said, you go outside, there's bright sunshine, you know, and he's got his back to the sun. I believe in the sunshine, but not the sun. Prove it to me. Well, just turn around. Just prove it to me. I'm not going to turn around. Now, this, you know what I mean? This is all Krishna shine. All of this energy. So now, if the earth, called the earth, the solid matter is Krishna's energy, that means that the marble that the deities were carved from is Krishna's energy, and he can appear through that energy for his devotees. And we see that if we actually become purified, we don't relate to these, you know, deities like statues. We're chanting before them, we're offering, and we're feeling, you know, and he's kindly accepting that offering. And so it becomes prasadam. It becomes different, transformed, and it's spiritually purifying, as opposed to bhoga, what we call bhoga, you know. So that's so the idea that Krishna is he's quoting from the Brahma Samhita. Angani yasa sakalendriya vrittimanti. This is a line which says, Angani means his limbs or his senses of Govinda, of Krishna. Sakalendriya vrittimanti can perform the functions of any sense. In other words, they're interchangeable. If you want to hear something, you got to use the ears. You know, if they're not working, then we can't hear anything. But Krishna's, because he's wholly spiritual, he can hear with his eyes and see with his ears, and he can eat with his eyes. When he looks at the offering, he can see the bhakti there, and if this bhakti is there, then he eats that, and he eats the prasad, and then it becomes prasadam. So that's like mysterious, mystical, but we have faith that it works. Okay, any questions on this verse, purport? Very important. Now, so the next one he gives a general principle, and then we'll read a little Krishna book. Yat karoshi yarashnasi, yad juhoshi dadasi yat, yat tapassasi kanteya, tat kurushva marapanam. Whatever you do, whatever you eat, whatever you offer or give away, and whatever austerities you perform, do that, O son of Kunti, as an offering to me. Purport. Thus, it is the duty of everyone to mold his life in such a way that he will not forget Krishna in any circumstance. Everyone has to work for maintenance of his body and soul together. And Krishna recommends herein that one should work for him. Everyone has to eat something to live, therefore he should accept the remnants of foodstuffs offered to Krishna. Any civilized man has to perform some religious ritualistic ceremonies, therefore Krishna recommends, do it for me. And this is called archana. Everyone has the tendency to give something in charity. Krishna says, give it to me. And this means that all surplus money accumulated should be utilized in furthering the Krishna consciousness movement. Nowadays, people are very much inclined to the meditational process, which is not practical in this age. But if anyone practices meditating on Krishna 24 hours a day by chanting the Hare Krishna mantra round his beads, he is surely the greatest meditator and the greatest yogi, as substantiated by the 6th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. So this is a general principle. There's a nice verse in the Srimad Bhagavad Purana, 11th canto, where the 9 yogendras, the 9 yogi sons of Rishabdev, they come on the scene, and each one of them has a lesson. And in the first lesson, I think Kavi Yogendra, he gives this general principle, which is kind of an expansion on this. And he says, Kayena vacha manasendriyava buddhyapanava anusita subhavat kadodi yadyat sakalam padasmai narayanayeti samarpayetam. He says, whatever you do with your body, with your words, with your mind, with your senses, with your intelligence, with your consciousness, which have all been given to you according to your karma, whatever you do with them, think this way, that this is being offered to Narayan. This is an offering to Narayan. which is exactly what this principle is. Whatever you do, whatever you offer, This is the whole meaning of this movement, to try to mold your life in such a way that everything you do will be in the mood of offering to Krishna and will remind you of Krishna. It's not easy because we're so conditioned to acting in a different way. And so that's why the ashram is important, the association is important. And most important is the mantra. Because the Hare Krishna mantra purifies the heart and gives you a direct perception of the Lord so that you want to act in this way. It becomes more spontaneous. But still, it requires discipline, like that. So this is the general principle. If we can try to begin to act in this way and under direction, we can make nice advancement in devotional service. Okay, so we're going to segue. Tomorrow we will read text number 28. We may finish this chapter this week. We'll see. Some very important instructions coming up in that chapter. And now we're going to resume our reading. Okay, I'm going to do something here. Forgive me. Of the Krishna book. Krishna book is Srila Prabhupada's summary study of the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Let's see where our bookmarks are. Okay. So, we're reading chapter 32 of the 10th canto, the Krishna book. And this is in the middle of the rasa dance. There's 5 chapters of the rasa dance, rasa panchajaya. Chapter 32 is where Krishna returns to the gopis. He left them because they became a little proud. And he took Radharani alone. Then she became a little proud and he left her also. So now, after they sing their hearts out in chapter 31, do either of you know that, Jayati Tedikam Janmana Vraja Shayate in. You heard your grandmother sing it, right? Or your aunt, somebody? It's very well known in India. Devotees. The gopis. They were proud because they were with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He was paying attention to them. And Krishna doesn't like that, so he disappeared and made them crazy in separation. And then they all meet Radharani, and together they go to the bank of the Yamuna and they sing. Jayati Tedikam. Oh, this land has become so wonderful because the goddess of fortune is here. Jayati Tedikam Janmana Rashayate Indira Shashvaratuhi. Oh beloved, please show yourself to us. We are your maidservants. We're searching for you, like that. That's kind of the refrain verse. This is about 18, 19 of it. So then he returns, when they're so heartbroken, he returns. And this is what they're saying to him. Krishna was sitting by the side of each gopi. Now they're going to ask him, they're going to question him about, loving affairs. You'll see what happens. Krishna was sitting by the side of each gopi, unseen by the others. Krishna was so kind to the gopis that instead of sitting in their hearts to be appreciated in yogic meditation, he seated himself by their side. So what happened? They took him to the bank of the Yamuna and they spread out their shawls and they were sitting there by idyllic scene. The moon is shining, it was beautiful. So now they're sitting together. By seating himself outside, he showed special favor to the gopis, who were the selected beauties of all creation. Having gotten their most beloved Lord, the gopis began to please him by moving their eyebrows and smiling, and also by suppressing their anger. Some of them took his lotus feet in their laps and massaged them, and while smiling, they confidentially expressed their suppressed anger and said, so now this is the 3rd degree. Dear Krishna, we are ordinary women of Vrindavan, and we do not know much about Vedic knowledge, what is right and what is wrong. We therefore put a question to you, and since you are very learned, you can answer it properly. In dealings between lovers, we find that there are 3 classes of men. One class simply receives, another class reciprocates favorably, even if the lover is very contrary, and the 3rd class neither acts contrary nor answers favorably in dealings of love. So out of these 3 classes, which do you prefer, or which do you call honest? In answer, Krishna said, my dear friends, persons who simply reciprocate the loving dealings of the other party are just like merchants. They give in loving affairs as much as they get from the other party. Practically, there's no question of love. It is simply self-interested or self-centered business dealing. Even those without a tinge of loving affairs are better than these merchants. Better than the first class is the second class of men, who love in spite of the opposite party's contrariness. Such sincere love can be seen when the father and mother love their children in spite of their children's neglect. The third class neither reciprocate nor neglect. They can be further divided into two classes. One comprises the self-satisfied who do not require anyone's love. They are called Atma Rama, which means they are absorbed in the thought of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and so do not care whether one loves them or not. But another class comprises the ungrateful men. They are called callous. The men in this group revolt against superior persons. For instance, a son, in spite of receiving all kinds of things from loving parents, may be callous and not reciprocate. Those in this class are generally known as Guru Druha, which means they receive favors from the parents or the spiritual master and yet neglect them. Close quote. Krishna indirectly answered the questions of the gopis, even those questions which implied that Krishna did not properly reciprocate their dealings. In answer, Krishna said that he, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is self-satisfied. He doesn't require anyone's love, but at the same time, he said that he's not ungrateful. My dear friends, Krishna continued, you might be aggrieved by my words and acts, but you must know that sometimes I don't reciprocate my devotees' dealings with me. My devotees are very much attached to me, but sometimes I don't reciprocate their feelings properly in order to increase their love for me more and more. If I can very easily be approached by them, they might think, oh, Krishna is so easily available. So sometimes I don't respond. If a person has no money, but after some time accumulates some wealth and then loses it, he will think of the lost property 24 hours a day. Similarly, in order to increase the love of my devotees, sometimes I appear to be lost to them, and instead of forgetting me, they feel their loving sentiments for me increase. My dear friends, don't think for a moment that I have been dealing with you as I do with ordinary devotees. I know what you are. You have forsaken all kinds of social and religious obligations. You have given up all connections with your parents. Without caring for social convention and religious obligations, you've come to me and loved me. And I am so much obliged to you that I cannot treat you as ordinary devotees. Do not think that I was away from you. I was near to you. I was simply seeing how much you were anxious for me in my absence. So please don't try to find fault with me. Because you consider me so dear to you, kindly excuse me if I have done anything wrong. I can't repay your continuous love for me, even throughout the lifetimes of the demigods in the heavenly planets. It is impossible to repay you or show enough gratitude for your love. Therefore, please be satisfied by your own pious activities. You've displayed exemplary attraction for me, overcoming the greatest difficulties arising from family connections. Please be satisfied with your highly exemplary character, for it is not possible for me to repay my debt to you. The exemplary character of devotional service manifested by the devotees of Vrindavan is the purest type of devotion. It is enjoined in authoritative shastras that devotional service must be ahoituki and apratiyata. That ahoituki is what I mentioned about the causeless. It's not causal. This means that devotional service to Krishna cannot be checked by political or religious convention. The stage of devotional service is always transcendental. The gopis particularly showed pure devotional service toward Krishna, so much so that Krishna himself remained indebted to them. Lord Chaitanya thus said that the devotional service manifested by the gopis in Vrindavan excelled all other methods of approaching the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Thus ends the Bhaktivinoda purport of the 32nd chapter of Krishna. Krishna returns to the gopis. And next, chapter 33, we won't start it tonight, the rasa dance, the actual rasa dance. We'll read that tomorrow. I don't know if we'll finish the whole chapter. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Haribol. So now we'll have a arti, the last arti, 8:50.
Oh, Bob, you didn't know that about your Gita, did you? I knew it was different, but I didn't know that. That's amazing.
Yeah. The whole first paragraph.
Yeah, that's just, I mean, like, what kind of fool?
So you think you'll get one of the new ones then?
Oh, I have some.
Oh, you have it?
Oh, yeah, I have a bunch of, yeah.
Do you have that original?
Uh,
They printed some facsimiles of that.
That's what, I think that's what I have.
Yeah,
I have,
yeah, it's just, I have one of the original. It's almost 50 years old.
I'm going out to town the rest of the week.
What?
Sorry. Sit down there.
Oh, you're going to some astrology? Okay.
Yeah.
Can you tell?
Well, every year they give us this tour.
Oh, really? How about Did you go into like that? Shri Radha Krishna Hey Krishna Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine
Grace, Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki jai. ISKCON Bhagavad Gita, Prabhupada ki jai. Jai Namaskar Paramahamsa, Dravida Prabhu, Sushima, the Divine Grace, Sri Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavini ki jai. Ramacharya Sri Haridas Thakur ki jai. Thank you, Lord Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur, Jai. Sri Radha Krishna Gopinath Shankar Turki Govardhan ki jai. Vrindavan Dham ki jai. Navadip Maya Govardhan ki jai. Jagannath Govardhan ki jai. Ganga Mani ki jai. Yamuna Mani ki jai. Tulsi Devi ki jai. Bhakti Devi ki jai. Sri Harinam Sankirtan ki jai. Transcendental Book Distribution ki jai. Sri Prabhupada ki jai. Salveda Bhaktivinoda ki jai. All glory to the assembled devotees. All glory to the assembled devotees. All glory to the assembled devotees. All glory to Sri Guru and another sheet. You know, you get it. Namaste Narasimhaya. Namaste Narasimhaya.
Prasadam. Hey, Papa.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, that's right. Can you have a little prasad? Take a prasad.
I have that too, sir.
I'm sorry?
Same, right? And you gave me the prasad.
They gave you some prasad already?
Yeah. That
Okay.
is in the white glass.
Yes, there might be some more.
This is
Different.
different.
I think so. Wait,
This is only.
you can have it. Amazing. Wow. We're getting plates. Oh. Also, is there any help? Okay. Can you get some spoons? We got plates, cups. Please, come on. I honestly don't know what to call this. Do you know what it's called?
Who is it?
One of our cooks?
So you put onion garlic as well?
No.
Okay.
No onions, no garlic,
Okay.
no meat, fish, or eggs.
So that I know.
That you know.
That
That's,
I know.
yeah, no, the onions and garlic. The book. This is something very special. But I'm just gonna give you a little bit. If you like it, there's plenty more. How about a few? And this is kachori.
Actually, I said,
You want two of these?
I know.
Okay, there you go. How about a little bit of the sweet? I'll cut one in half. Yeah, too big, too big. Too big for me too.
Ready.
Not easy to cut.
Very sharp. Actually, we can do it.
You think you're big?
Very hard. I can get the soup really right now.
Careful. Stand back. No, it is good. We have. Interesting. I think I know why there's so many left over. Yes. Right.
you.
Don't make it deep.
Thank you so much. Please,
Oh, you don't need it.
thank you.
You're welcome. You want all the cover and take out? Sir? You have to sound over?
Krishna Gita laga Krishna Gita laga na na